Hey my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to another episode of Fiona's Coffee Talks. And as always, I'd like to start off every day with a fresh, hot, black cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. Of course, in my favorite coffee mug. With no Kahlua, who knew? And every time I say that, I'm like shocked. So, today it is Sunday, January 17th. It is 2:30 in the afternoon, and today's topic is, drumroll please, COVID-19 vaccinations in New York City. So much to talk about, but I'm going to narrow it down to 4 specific points that I want to make. So the first one is, okay, is everyone going to get it? That's the big question, because in my humble opinion, in order for this to fully work and for us to get this as much under control and hopefully one day have it not be anything that's fatal as it's been, there has to be a vast majority of people who have to get it in order for this to work. And, just all along, you always hear with vaccinations how there are some people who are against it. Even in terms of vaccinations that we get as babies or as little kids, there are some parents out there that don't want to get their kids vaccinated. And I know just in hearing people talk and seeing what's out there on social media that there are some people who are basically opposed to getting it. So that I know that when they were first talking about it, they said in order for it to fully work, that there has to be some high number, 90% of the population have to get it in order for it to be as effective as they would like it to be. So that's sort of the tricky thing, because in the ideal world, I would hope that we could reach that number. The number may have changed at this point because most things in life, and specifically with COVID-19, things are constantly changing. But I know for myself, I will get it because, better safe than sorry. And at least if the majority of the people get it, God forbid if something goes wrong with it, well then at least we'll all suffer, which is one way of looking at it. But, I have to think that it would do more good than it would harm. But how are they going to handle that? Because are they going to force people to take it? I mean, I don't think that they legally can mandate it and say everyone has to take it. So that's going to be really interesting how that's going to play out. Now here in New York City, I know it's been probably I think about a month or going on a month that the vaccinations have been available. And I know by and large they're telling everyone, go to this, go to the website, the nyc.gov or whatever the address is. And I'm hearing all of these stories, you hear conflicting stories where some people say that they were able to get on really easily. Other people say that they have a hard time maneuvering it or even getting to a place where they can make an appointment or even being able to find it or get on. I'm hearing all sorts of things all over the map. And it sort of reminds me of when the pandemic first hit and suddenly everyone was trying to get unemployment. And it was the first time that they had opened up unemployment to even freelancers. Is up until the pandemic with unemployment, if it was not W-2, so in other words, if you were not taxed for the money you made, you were not eligible, or that money did not go towards your benefit amount. And I remember back then, it was you were hearing people saying, oh, I've been trying 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And it took them weeks before some people took them that long to actually even be able to get to a point where they could file the claim. So I'm hearing these stories also with this particular website that people are going to, where they're either not getting through or just not having any luck with it. But then you see some people on television, oh, it was easy. I got the appointment just like that. And then that's the other thing that I'm hearing is some people are saying, this one friend of mine, she was, after trying for hours and hours and days, she finally got on, and the first available appointment for her was not till the end of March. Now, I know someone else who they got on easily and they have their appointment in a week. So I don't know if it has anything to do with the time of day that one goes on. Maybe the thing to do is go on at 3 a.m, assuming that the website is up and running 24/7, which it should be. So that's interesting too, because I could see where, like, you might get to a point where if you're trying to get on and trying to be successful with it, and you're hitting a wall and not getting anywhere with it, then you might get to a point where you're like, I'm sick of this shit. Let me wait a little while. So I don't know. I personally have not tried going on the site yet, and that brings me to the third point, which is the whole grouping of it. They talk about, it's going to be in phases. So like first it was like phase 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you have like 1A, 1B, and there even there's even a little confusion with that, because they say one thing, but then what I see printed does not totally match what they say. And specifically, Group 1B, which just started almost a week ago, Monday, January 11th, that's where they added like people that were the age of 65 or older, because Group 1A was if you were 75 or older. So now they're saying, okay, well, let's put in 1B, we're going to put 65 and older, and then they kept mentioning immunocompromised. So I'm assuming that means for someone like me who's living with HIV, I would fall under that category. But even when they were saying it on the news, and they would say over 65 and immunocompromised, apart from everything else, grocery store workers, this, that, essential workers, but they would say that, but then when they would flash it on the screen, they would show 65 and older, and they would show everything else, but not show immunocompromised or HIV or underlying health conditions. That was not showing up. So I kept hearing them say that they wanted to, or they wanted to make that part of the group, but then they never said, well, we wanted to, but we didn't. They would just say we want to, but then they would flash who made the cut, for lack of a better term, and then suddenly they would be 65 and older, everyone else, but not immunocompromised. So then that brings me to the whole point of, then I'm looking at the list, and I get that you have to prioritize, but then, you can't help but there are going to be people who fit under a particular category, like in my case, because I'm living with HIV, where then, you almost feel a little slighted, because I'm like, well, how come other people are going before me? But then, you have to think about, like, okay, like grocery store workers. Yeah, I get that, essential workers. But they've also added, like I saw that in Group 1B, they also have not only the people that work in homeless shelters, but actual people that live in homeless shelters. So then it's like, oh, okay, so homeless people get precedence over me who's living with HIV. And I get it, because I guess they're overpopulated. They're going to go out there in the streets more. If they're not in the shelter, they might end up back in the streets, so then they're going to be out there more. I noticed one of the categories also dealt with like the prison systems and like the guards and, the staff. Now, within that grouping, I did not see where they actually listed prisoners. So I'm curious, like, because they listed every other aspect pertaining to the prison system. But I didn't actually see them say prisoners as well, because then I think to myself, well, wait a minute. So you're going to, people that are incarcerated and then people that are homeless are going to get it before people with underlying health conditions? But again, they didn't list prisoners, so I wonder where they fit into that, or maybe they are part of that, they just didn't write it out. So then it becomes this whole thing about, well, why should they get it before me? And you try not to go there. I'm trying not to go there, and, and for the most part, I'm good about not going there. And I completely understand, and I can rationalize, that people, MTA workers, grocery store workers, those are essential workers, and, even homeless people, and even prisoners. Okay, I understand that. It still kind of sucks it. It's like, well, where am I in the mix? So then I'm like looking everywhere, and now all of a sudden, the other day I went back and I looked, and now they have a new group 1C. And in 1C, it says people with underlying health conditions. Doesn't say immunocompromised, so I have to assume that that means anyone that has any kind of health issue or disease or illness that they are dealing with, even if it's not necessarily a terminal illness. Like, I don't consider HIV to be terminal anymore. At least for me, it never was. After 28 years, knock on wood, still doing good. So I can understand that, and I can rationalize, and I can, justify, and maybe that's my defense mechanism that will make me feel better about the fact that I don't get to get it right away, which is okay too, because, right off the bat, I was personally thinking, well, maybe I want to wait a little minute and, let a bunch of other people get it first before me, just to see like how people react to it and how well it does and how foolproof it actually is. So, but it does suddenly makes you think about all of these other things. And then last but not least, the fourth point that I want to make about this topic is supply and demand, because that's the big thing also. It's like Cuomo was saying the other day on the news, he was like, suddenly they've opened up the floodgates by including all of these different groups, all the groups that I've mentioned, and then suddenly you have this many people that are now eligible to get it, and everyone wants it, but you're trying to squeeze all of these people into one syringe. So the amount of people that are available and what you have in terms of the vaccinations to give out, there's a big discrepancy. So I know New York had gotten something like 300,000, and then they opened it up to that many more. They've pretty much have run out or about to run out. And now this new shipment that they're getting is only 250,000. So now you've opened it up to more people, but you're sending us even less. I don't understand that. So, and I get that like everyone wants to like be at the front of the line because everyone wants to get it, but then they're already saying how like, in a few days they're going to run out. And there have been other places, there have been places that have been set up specifically to like do this 24/7. One in particular that I'm thinking of was in Brooklyn that just opened their doors on Monday, and by the next day they had to shut down because they ran out of the vaccinations to give out. And I know like, was it Mount Sinai or Montefiore? Something with an M. And also NYU Langone, which is a hospital that my doctor is affiliated with. I've been getting emails and text messages and messages on the NYU Langone app saying, we're going to let you know when it's your turn. So now on the news they're saying that those two entities, they had to cancel all of their appointments as of, I think, Thursday, because they ran out. So they're not going to, they canceled the appointments, I believe, through Tuesday. So if you had an appointment any of those days in between, then you're shit out of luck, which means you might have to wait that much longer to get a new one. And again, because they ran out. So, the demand is obviously outweighing the supply, which then kind of makes you think about everything being tied to like the political world we live in. Because I wonder, you hope, and I hope, and everyone's saying, I've heard a lot of people say, once we have the new administration, when Biden comes in, everything's going to change. I believe that's true. I hate to be cynical, but you almost kind of think this idiot that's on his way out, the orange piece of shit, I wonder if he, have they been withholding it and not sending all that they should? Maybe they lied and said they had a lot more than what they actually had. Who knows? But let's keep it real. There's the population of the United States is huge, and in particular in New York, we're such a huge city with the millions and millions and millions that we have. Sending, 300,000 and then another 250,000. That doesn't even cover. That ain't even 1 million. Let's keep it real. They were also saying that just if they wanted to give the vaccine in New York just to everyone that was over 65 and older, it would take them till June to get all of those people done, assuming that every single one of them wanted to get done. So the whole thing is kind of like, wow, I don't know what to make of it half the time. I have to think that like anything in life, this is something that's totally new. So because of that, we go through growing pains. I have to think that, give it a minute. I keep telling myself, it's going to be fine. People are just getting it now. I wasn't in any real rush to go running and, be at the front of the line anyway. But, I just wanted to simply know, what group am I in? Because they kept saying, like I said, 1B, but then I wouldn't see that printed anywhere. And then suddenly I saw 1C. I was even contacting my doctor's office through the app, and they would respond and say, oh, go like to the New York City website, and that would tell you. No, it ain't. Bitch, if it told me, I wouldn't be asking you. So anyway, so that's my story on this topic, and that's obviously happening as we speak. So, you know, Biden will be in office. Hopefully, I know he wants to make this, like, you know, put that at the top of his agenda of like getting this done and getting as many people vaccinated as possible. So I'm hoping that will make a difference, because at least there's intention there, and there's someone who appears that he cares about us. So that is the scoop. So moral of the story, if you are out there and you're going to get vaccinated, which I hope you do, you know, if you are having trouble with the website, don't give up. You know, give it a minute. You will get through. You will get the appointment. You might have to wait a minute. Like if you're in a particular group that's later on, that's okay. Because when all is said and done, I believe that everything happens the way it's supposed to. And if I hold on to that faith and that belief system that I have, then I have to think that I'm going to be okay. And then when it is finally my turn, and when I do finally get the appointment, and I do finally go, that is when I was supposed to get it all along. So if I think in those terms, then I don't drive myself all crazy saying, bitch, when am I going to get my shot? So, all right. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, for indulging me, and for listening. I love doing these videos, and I love that I have this opportunity to be with you all, and, you know, and have my little coffee with Kahlua and talk my shit and give my opinion. So if you like what you're hearing, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, don't forget, hit the subscription, can't even speak, the subscription tab, and then set your notifications to all. So anytime I post a new video, you are notified. But in case you don't know this, every Friday, 10 a.m. is when my new video will air. So that's when this video will air. So that's my new thing. Every Friday, 10 a.m., that video that premieres, I would have shot it the Sunday right before. That way, what I'm thinking about the topic, it's fresh. Because, you know, honey, we're all changing, and if I shoot weeks in advance, I might have a different thought. So, all right. Thanks for being here. Till the next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and stay healthy. Love you.